This is the opposition leader, John Pesutto, responding to that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in there I might draw on, Simon. For Daniel Andrews to say that councils are the problem when it's his government that faces corruption report after corruption report, his government that sits on many applications to approve housing development, I think it's more than a bit rich for Daniel Andrews to be blaming councils for the problems his government is creating. That's the first thing. So stripping local communities of their ability to have a say in the development of their neighbourhoods is the wrong way to go. There can always be a good balance struck between centralisation of planning powers and state policies on planning, but also having local democracy so local communities can continue to have a say. Daniel Andrews, though, the Andrews Labor government has completely failed to support new housing estates, particularly in growth corridors around Melbourne. We hear story after story of how estates around Melbourne are without the roads they need, without the schools they need, without the hospital access and GP access they need. So what the government has done is it's approved housing developments in these areas, as they should, but they're not followed through on the local community infrastructure development that's desperately needed. And I hear stories, for example, in Calcalo, where people take something like 45 to 50 minutes simply to get out of their estates because of traffic congestion. So the government has approved these housing lots, but not invested in the local infrastructure that's needed to support these new and emerging communities. And why? Because the state is broke. Daniel Andrews simply is out of money, and he doesn't know how to address these problems, and he won't be able to. He's created them. Yeah. Yeah, so what I'd say to that, Simon, is local government can do better. Of course it can and should do better. But we need to all understand that the Andrews government is sitting on many applications for not only growth corridors but regional areas as well that are looking for approvals from the government to commence these local housing estates, but the government is sitting on them. The Andrews government, whether it's corruption, whether it's incompetence or waste, is making it harder to deal with the challenges of our housing crisis in Victoria. And until they understand that, we're not likely to see any progress in the right direction. Councils need to do better, but I can tell you the Andrews government needs to do a whole lot better. Yeah.
Any levy whatsoever, even if it's, say, just 2 or 3%,
Yeah.
not 7.5%?
We oppose any tourism and holiday tax. Victorians are already doing it hard. What the Andrews government needs to do is stop wasting money. And when it stops doing things like torching $380 million on the cancellation of the Commonwealth Games, something it should have never committed to, given there was no proper business case, unless and until the government does that, it's not fair or right for Daniel Andrews to shift his problems onto Victorian households and Victorian taxpayers. That's not fair and it's not right.
All right, so John Pesutto there mainly taking aim at the possibility of some form of tax on short stays, Airbnb, saying it's not the solution to housing, get more genuine supply, and of course having a crack at some of the spending decisions of the Andrews government.